Next up, we have Delphox. Part prophetic wand-carrying magician, part Mozilla Firefox, this Generation 6 starter was a hit with fans who enjoyed both its design and its unique quality as the first starter Pokemon to have partial psychic typing, and also being the first fire starter in a while to not be fire fighting type. Its pre-evolution Breakzen is also a fighting game character in Pokken. Delphox also had some excellent anime appearances as a member of Serena's team, raised all the way from the adorable Fennekin, and Serena's rival Aria had one as well. Today we'll see how Delphox performed in the competitive scene. Did it make like Michael Gira and see it all, or did it make like its design and become another witch burned at the stake? We'll find out as we ask, how good was Delphox actually? And in this video we'll be going over these competitive formats. Right off the bat, it was clear that Delphox packed a plethora of powerhouse potential. It had an excellent variety of valuable offensive traits. It was a fire type, one of the best offensive types in the game, with superb special attack and uniquely high speed, which was key in letting it get the most out of its searing fire blasts. Delphox also had another excellent stab type, Psychic, which not only increased its offensive potential by extending potential super effective coverage, but complemented its fire stab beautifully, slamming the water, dragon, rock, and fire types that would resist it. In return, fire would incinerate the steel, dark, and psychic types that resisted psychic. Delphox's move pool didn't stop with its outstanding offensive stab combination either. It made itself even more offensively formidable with Calm Mind. It had another terrific coverage option in Grass Knot to destroy water and rock types even more thoroughly. It could trick, making it a perfect candidate for a choice item. It could even put an opposing Pokemon out of commission with Hypnosis. Now, though Delphox had plenty of good going for it, it had plenty of flaws too. Its dangerous offensive typing came with the drawback of several significant defensive weaknesses, such as Stealth Rock and Pursuit. It wasn't exactly bulky either. Its special defense was solid, but its HP was unremarkable and its defense below average. Finally, Delphox was strong offensively, but not in OU where Heatran and the Mega Charizards ruled the roost as fire types. UU proved to be beyond Delphox's reach too, as it was unable to compete with the tier's defining fires in Infernape and Entei. However, come X and Y RU, Delphox finally hit its stride, establishing itself as the tier's premier fire type. And this was in a tier where Moltres was a top tier Pokemon. Delphox wasn't just the premier fire either. It was one of the 5 best Pokemon in the metagame, period. It ran 3 sets, each of which were ferociously effective at their respective roles. First, the Choice Spec set was one of the most vicious nukes in the tier. Fire Blast destroyed pretty much everything, and Psychic destroyed the few Pokemon that could withstand Fire Blast, such as Alomomola, Rhyperior, and Druddigon. Oh sure, Slowking was very good and resisted both moves, but it was also slammed hard by Grass Knot or crippled by Trick. Next, the offensive Calm Mind set was one of the scariest Pokemon to face in the late game, packing both boosted power and the capacity to switch up its moves, which made getting past the likes of Slowking even easier, especially since Calm Mind boosted special defense as well. And it had flexibility in its item too, making it even more difficult to deal with. It could run Life Orb for simply stunning power, a resistance barrier to nullify a would-be revenge killing attempt, such as Doughblade's Shadow Sneak or Dugshield's Earthquake, or even Select-Berry, especially if it was willing to use Substitute over Grass Knot. It was a worthwhile price to pay, since Grass Knot's targets were hardly unmanageable. Delphox's stab combination was incredible on its own, and the sub-select strategy let it potentially win games it otherwise have no shot in, turning the tables on faster Pokemon like Cobalion, Virizion, and Jolteon, especially since substituting to low health would activate Blaze, turning Delphox's Fire Blast into an automatic KO button, 85% of the time anyway. Speaking of boosting speed, Delphox's third set took a more instant, straightforward approach to the idea. It was also a great Scarfer. Part of what made it so effective was its flexibility in different matchups. It was best against frail offensive teams, which it cleaned up in the late game nigh effortlessly, but even against stalled teams, it remained threatening thanks to Trick ruining a would-be wall. And so for its nigh peerless excellence, Delphox was a staple of offensive teams in XYRU. Then Oraz came around, and Delphox took a hit as the tier expanded. It was still a great Pokemon, as it still tore through most of the tier's defensive cores with little effort. However, as a result of the faster, stronger metagame, Delphox struggled to leave an impact on battles as easily as it did before, which made adding it to a team more of a calculated choice rather than the nearly automatic one it had been before. Several new top tier additions to the metagame made it a more hostile environment for Delphox, as it had difficulties finding opportunities with all the Aerodactyl, Sneasel, Houndoom, Drapion, and Flygon running around. Furthermore, even wall breaking was tougher for Delphox now, thanks to the addition of specially defensive Diancie, which was a nearly perfect Delphox counter and was a staple on bulky teams. If Diancie could be be dealt with though, Delphox could pose a threat. Meanwhile though, offensive teams were more able to limit Delphox's opportunities. Its speed let it threaten plenty of such team staples, even those considered fairly speedy themselves, such as Sigilif and Mega Glalie, to say nothing of its valuable trait of switching into and ripping through the likes of Venusaur and Abomasnow. Plus, it could still utilize a resistance berry to great effect. For example, Cobra Berry Delphox completely turned the tables on Sneasel. So all in all, Delphox was an important, effective part of Generation 6 RU. It started out as an elite, tier-defining monster, and then settled into a more specialized but incredibly dangerous role. Generation 7's massive power creep prevented Delphox from reprising its role in RU, but that was fine as it found a new home in NU, and there it excelled as its offensive traits were a perfect fit for the metagame. It was even more terrifying offensively than before, as its offensive Calm Mind set can now make use of the new Z crystals to boost its power into hitherto unseen levels. Grass Knot becoming Bloom Doom was particularly effective at letting Delphox blast through Pyukumuku, who would ordinarily take almost no damage due to its low weight, while increasing Delphox's capacity to blast through would-be checks like Slowking and Vaporeon. Alternatively, Delphox can make terrific use of Firium Z, allowing it to grab unboosted KOs on naturally bulky Pokemon that would usually be able to take such a hit with ease, like Gallade and Scrafty. Delphox wasn't entirely reliant on Z crystals either, and could just as easily slot in a Cobra Berry, limiting the ability of the Pokemon like Sneasel and Scarf Persimmon to check it. Even when running an offensive set, Delphox also had great value in the defensive utility by virtue of its unique set of resistances and good special bulk. It could help its team dance around otherwise irritating threats like Magmortar, Whimsicott, and Mega Abomasnow. Some players noticed this innate defensive value Delphox had and decided to take it further by investing in its bulk while equipping it with a move it can never fit on its offensive sets, Wish. As it turned out, Delphox was quite the defensive Pokemon. The Pokemon it checked were famously difficult to handle otherwise, and as such, it fit perfectly on bulkier teams. It was an excellent user of Toxic, as its Fire Stab chased away the Steels and part Grass Poison types that were immune to it. It racked up toxic damage with the same protect it used to receive its own wishes and boost leftovers recovery. Its Wish, of course, healed its teammates as well, making Delphox even more of a team player. What made Delphox even more unique was the fact that it used Mystical Fire as its stab. For those who don't know, which is understandable as this is quite a rare move, Mystical Fire is 75 base power, but guarantees the opponent's special attack is lowered one stage. This was an incredible trait to have on a special wall, as it allowed Delphox to completely stifle special attackers that would attempt to get past it through Calm Mind, most notably Comfey, and opposing Delphox. Yes, defensive Delphox's ability to wall offensive variants of itself was one of its best traits, as valuable as it was unique. Another great thing about bulky Delphox was that it was still plenty fast, which was excellent in providing it all sorts of flexible utility in game. It only really needed HP investment to reliably tank the hits it was supposed to, like those of Magmortar anyway. Running speed actually made it a better defensive Pokemon. It may sound funny, but that is a significant part of what defense is in Pokemon. It was being able to use its speed to pivot into and chase out Mega Glalie, whereas if it were slow, it would be vulnerable to a follow-up Earthquake. Plus, it ensured Delphox had more to play for even at low health. For example, if it was at 1 HP in front of Magmortar, it could still get a Wish or a Toxic off before being KO'd thanks to being faster. This flexibility was enormous, as it meant Delphox didn't rely entirely on remaining at pristine health in shape for taking hits to be useful. Finally, Delphox's Scarf set returned as well, as reliable as ever. It had some new particularly valuable advantages. It easily outran the NU tier's de facto Scarf for Persimmon, and it was able to outrun Shell Smash Almastar after a boost. It was Delphox's rarest set, but that was mostly because the other two were so good, and Scarf Fox was still quite the late game threat. So all in all, Delphox was an important member of Generation 7 NU. Fun fact, Delphox's unique typing led a few stall players desperate for Tapu Lele answers to try its Wish set in OU, and it got the job done. It was an intensely specialized specific Pokemon and didn't really do much else of note, so it never really got anywhere serious, but it was worth mentioning. It's a pretty funny image. Tapu Lele blasting through everything until Delphox shows up. And that's it. So how good was Delphox actually? Well, for a Pokemon with only 2 generations under its belt to date, it's had quite some success. It started out as an elite defining metagame force in X and Y RU as a monstrously dangerous offensive force. Then Oraz came around and knocked it down a couple pegs, but Delphox defiantly retained its niche in the tier. It carved out a new niche in the Generation 7's NU. It was even scarier than before as an offensive threat, but it also demonstrated its immense capacity for defensive use with an excellent bulky Wish set that answers some some of the most dangerous Pokemon in the tier, like Magmortar. This set even made the briefest appearances in OU to counter none other than the monstrous Tapu Lele. So all in all, Delphox's career has been short but sweet so far. If and when it returns to the scene, it's sure to see continued success. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, if you liked the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content. And in the comments, I want to know, what do you think about competitive Delphox? What do you want to see it get if it appears in a later generation? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Also, thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and thank you to everyone else watching as well. And follow my crew on these social media platforms. And that's all I got. See you next time, everyone.